We begin with a narcissistic, unstable man who just might kill us all. And it says something about the current state of the world that you have no idea which world leader our story is about. So, let me specify. It's about a tubby, power-hungry leader with daddy issues and a bad haircut, which still only narrows us down to these two, but as it happens, our first story is about both of them, because last week, North Korea marked the 105th birthday of Kim Il-sung, their first supreme leader, with a startling parade.
These canisters could carry a missile capable of reaching the U.S., but are they real, or are they what one intelligence official called just big green tubes?
Okay, that is a good question, because yes, on one hand, they could be intercontinental missiles capable of destabilising the whole world order, but on the other hand, they could also be dildos for the Jolly Green Giant's wife. He does not sexually satisfy her. That's a fact. That's a sad fact. But the parade wasn't the issue for the international community as much as the missile test that followed it, the fifth in the past 10 weeks. And while it failed, it was a provocative act, especially considering that just days earlier, Donald Trump had tried to warn them not to do it.
What are we doing right now in terms of North Korea?
We are sending an armada, very powerful. We have submarines. Very powerful.
Okay, that was a very powerful response from Trump. Very powerful. Although I would argue the most surprising thing there is that he knows what the word armada means. I always just assumed that's what he mistakenly called his housekeepers. Armada, you forgot to dust under the lamps. You think I don't check under the lamps, Armada, but I do. I do check under the lamps. But to give the president some credit, that was at least a clear response, echoed later by Sean Spicer, who argued that there was an unmistakable message of deterrence being sent when you see a carrier group steaming into an area like that. But that message got a little muddied this week after we learned something surprising about the carrier group in question.
The USS Carl Vinson was not, in fact, on its way. It was more than 3,000 nautical miles away, traveling in the opposite direction, heading south.
Okay, so it was steaming, just the wrong way. And it was off the coast of North Korea the same way that New York is off the coast of Portugal. And when confronted by this mistake, Sean Spicer, I remind you, a professional spokesperson, yet again lost control of his mouth.
Can you take us through the events from the perspective of the White House that led to the miscommunication, this administration thinking that this vessel was thousands of miles away from its actual location?
The president said that we have an armada going towards the peninsula. That's a fact. It happened. It is happening, rather.
Wait. So Spicer is claiming that because the fleet was going to North Korea eventually, it was fine to suggest that it was on its way there now. And by that logic, I can truthfully say that Sean Spicer is currently posting his resume on Monster.com. I mean, he isn't, but he will eventually. And at this rate, possibly as soon as next week. So it seems with the parade of potentially fake weapons, the failed missile test, and the armada that's definitely in an ocean steaming somewhere, it has been a week of confusing messages back and forth. But on Wednesday, we got perhaps the most surprising message of all.
The New York Times reports on unusual activity at North Korea's nuclear test site. Images taken Sunday showed a volleyball game being played. It was one of 3 games. Analysts say the games were probably intended to send a message, but that message is unclear.
Yeah, it probably is, because volleyball on a nuclear test site is a pretty hard message to get your head around. It's like getting a text that said, hey, you up, eggplant emoji, because I just ate an entire box of graham crackers, gun emoji. I don't know what that means, but I'm pretty sure it can't be good. So let's move on to some lighter news in North Korea. Alphabetically speaking, the world's foremost Korea. This week, that country saw a major event.
Ominous developments in North Korea right now, where the biggest political event in decades is underway, the first gathering of the Communist Party elites in some 36 years.
That's right. The North Korean Workers' Party had its first gathering since 1980. And I'm guessing the first order of business was therefore, oh my God, how good was Cheers? How good was Cheers, guys? This event was so momentous, North Korea actually invited around 130 foreign journalists to come cover it, where they got the chance to meet some normal, everyday, completely unscripted Pyongyang citizens.
김정은 원수님께서 최고이십니다.
Yes, he is the best one in the world.
The best leader in the world.
Yeah, it is the most powerful country in the world.
What should America know about your leader?
Comrade Kim is the best in the world, she says, and a peacemaker.
We don't have anything against Americans, but we don't like American policymakers, she said.
What do you think of President Obama?
If she's given the weapon, provided the weapon, she wants to shoot at him.
So if she's given a weapon, she would shoot at President Obama?
She wants to shoot at him.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. There is literally no other response to that than wow. Especially because you don't often hear assassination threats in the same wistful tone of voice. You'd say, well, if I had a bread maker, it would be focaccia every morning. But the highly choreographed tour for the foreign journalists didn't stop there. They were also taken to a model farm that seemed weirdly devoid of farmers, a nursery school with this on the wall, and even a gun factory turned museum with great historical significance.
We're told the founder and president Kim Il-sung test-fired the first locally produced submachine gun 50 meters, more than 160 feet, hitting those two targets with a bullseye every time.
This rifle apparently fired by the founder of the DPRK, Kim Il-sung, even his wife, and then later his son, Kim Jong-il. They all apparently hit bullseye.
Comrade Kim Jong-il shot 3 bullets and 3 of them got bullseye.
They all got bullseye. And how old was he at the time?
He was 7-year-old.
The 7-year-old got 3 bullseyes?
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive.
That is a very professional translator. A 7-year-old got 3 bullseyes. A 7-year-old, I said, Still, the whole point of the trip was to attend Kim Jong-un's speech. However, at the last minute, the journalists were not allowed into the building and were instead taken back to their hotel, where they couldn't even watch the speech on state TV because, as one of them showed on Vine, it was airing an old black and white Korean military drama, so her readers were reduced to watching someone watching North Korean television, and now you're watching this show watch someone watching North Korean television. It's like a Russian nesting doll if every piece was less entertaining than a plain wooden doll that does nothing. But thankfully, 13 hours later, the state TV did give some inkling of what was going on inside that meeting.
The state television channel broke into regular programming with a special news bulletin announcing that Kim Jong-un will be elected this weekend to a new, even more grandiose title than the one he currently holds.
Ooh, Kim Jong-un is getting a title bump. I guess the only question is, what's the title going to be? Will it be Supreme Leader? Triple Supreme Leader? I happen to think the most fitting would be Kim Lisi, Mother of Dragons, because, think about it, given his unpredictable violence and fantastical family history, he's perhaps the only person on Earth who could conceivably win the Game of Thrones. Finally this week, North Korea. Earth's Florida. Next month is the 70th anniversary of Korea's Liberation Day, the date marking the end of Japanese colonial rule. And I guess the big question is, what do you get the country that is ordered to think it has everything? Well, apparently, Kim Jong-un has decided that for the first time ever, a foreign rock band will play there. So, who's it going to be? Rolling Stones? U2? A Michael Jackson impersonator passed off as the real thing because North Koreans don't know he's dead yet? Well, no. Because it turns out it's going to be, and this is true, a Slovenian art rock group called Laibach. And if you're not familiar with them, this is the happy, celebratory music that North Koreans will be listening to on their special anniversary.
Europe is falling apart. Europe is falling apart. Europe is falling apart.
Happy Liberation Day, North Korea. Sleep well. Now, look, Laibach might seem like an odd choice, but you can understand what totalitarian dictator Kim Jong-un might see in them when you watch their video, Dance with Laibach. Kim Jong-un loves this band. That video is basically his answer to, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Oh, I don't know. Probably leading a skeleton army into battle, if all goes well. Now, you probably won't be surprised to learn that Laibach has been accused of glorifying fascism in the past, to which their response has been, we are fascists as much as Hitler was a painter, which I assume means they are fascists, they're just very, very bad at it. But before you worry that their music might be too much of a downer for the people of North Korea, please note that Laibach promised the programme will also feature, and this is true, them reinterpreting songs from The Sound of Music. Which, yes, sounds a little weird, but actually wouldn't be the first time they've brought that fun Laibach touch to other people's music. I give you their absolutely inexplicable cover of Sympathy for the Devil. Finally, we have an answer to the question, what if Freddie Mercury was trapped in a cave, had just swallowed a frog, and was trying to sing it out? I've got to say, North Korea seems like a terrifying place to visit, but if it is really true that that guy is going to be singing The Sound of Music, I kind of want to go there. I need to hear him bark about whiskers on kittens. And now, this.
And now.
Thank you so much for joining us. I'm John Oliver. Just time for a quick recap of the week, and we begin in North Korea, named Best Korea for 70 years running by North Korea magazine. This has been a particularly tense week on North Korea's southern border.
New pictures to share with you. The North Korean military seemingly standing by. See it there? Ready to attack South Korea if given that word.
Holy shit. So, if given the word, North and South Korea could be at war. And interestingly, that word, Cucamonga. You cannot say Kim Jong-un does not have a sense of humour. You can't say it. Now, both sides have exchanged fire across the DMZ, and the South has been employing an unusual weapon.
South Korean loudspeakers blaring criticism of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's regime. The North has told the South to turn it down or face more military action.
Look, North Korea, if your neighbour is blasting horrible noise at all hours of the day, you do not retaliate with war. You wait until the next morning and you leave a passive-aggressive note. There is an etiquette for how we handle this stuff. Now, the speakers have been blasting not just news about Kim Jong-un, but also, and this is true, South Korean pop music. Now, they haven't said exactly what music they've been playing, but I hope it's some of the better K-pop stuff. I'm talking Soul Lights by Neon Bunny, basically anything by Jung-hwa, Jo Song-mo's early stuff, or maybe TVXQ, of course, before Hero Jae-jong left, because I think we all know that after that, the whole band's sound went to shit. I didn't need to Google any of that. That was all up here and in here. The two sides are currently still negotiating, and look, we can only hope that things calm down. Nobody wants North Korea firing a nuclear weapon, and heaven help us all if South Korea chooses to play this.
Tonight's party!
That was a hit by Hwang Min-woo, and please, South Korea, do not play that through your speakers, because that's not just a declaration of war, that's basically sarin gas with backbeat and an auto-tune. So let's move on to Russia.
Did this week or recently, and like it gets lost in the swarm of bees.
Right. I mean, so just really quickly on the first question, there's a connection between Joe McCarthy and Donald Trump, and you look at their relationships to the media, they're strikingly similar. I actually wrote about this a while back. They also shared the common thread of Roy Cohn, which people have seen, what Roy Cohn was and the kind of type of figure he was. But the thing that Joe McCarthy figured out in the 1950s was that he could lie, and if he lied kind of exponentially, and people could only fact check arithmetically, he would get much more misinformation out than people could ever correct.
Hitler said that.
Did he say that?
He said people believe a big lie.
Oh, right, the big
more
lie.
than a
Right,
small
right.
lie.
And this is the same sort of philosophy, the same sort of kind of blueprint that they run on. In terms of the other thing about privatizing prisons, it's pretty straightforward. When you give people a profit motive, they're going to pursue a profit motive.
Yes.
And it's not unrelated. We have the largest incarcerated population in the Western world. It's not unrelated to the fact that people can actually make money on putting people in prison.
And they do.
Very straightforward.
And they contribute, It's horrible. Anna, do you think the Republican leadership is due for a shakeup? Paul Ryan is mentioned.
Look, I think what you saw this week, Nunes leaving, and by the way, what I wanted to tell you is it's not Nunez. He's not Latino. He's Portuguese. It's Nunes. Making that clear. But I think what happened
Aren't
this week
the Portuguese
is a
little Latino? Isn't there something? They're on
He's not one of me.
They're
Look, I think what happened this week with Nunes is self-preservation by the Republican leadership. They realized that America is pissed off at an investigation that has no credibility, at a guy that had become the water boy for the White House, that didn't know whether his allegiance was to an investigation or to the president, and they were hearing from it. I think that
school picture says it all. I mean, what a fucking mess.
Yeah. Right.
What a loser.
Yeah.
But I assure you, Americans were calling their congresspeople, including Republicans, and saying, you know what? We can't vote against Nunes, but we'll vote against you. Tell Paul Ryan. That's what happened this week.
Do you really want a picture of you in 1991?
I can picture it.
I don't want mine up there.
It's not as bad as that, the guy.
Chelsea, any reflections on Don Rickles? Yes, the world lost Don Rickles.
What about you? Any reflections for you?
I mean, I love Don Rickles. I remember Don Rickles on The Tonight Show when I was a kid. It was one of the things that would make the whole family, Don Rickles is on! We'd all come down, we'd all watch it. I mean, there was something amazing about him. And because, first of all, it was not stale. It was all right off the cuff. You never knew what he was going to say. He didn't know what he was going to say, and he got away with it, you know. No, I think he was a great comedian, and he was one of my favorites. What should the U.S. posture be toward North Korea? Yeah, well, you know, Trump this week said if China's not going to take care of it, we will. That made me shit my pants, Congress.
That's a bad idea.
Yeah.
Syria doesn't have nuclear weapons. North Korea does. We can't launch 59 cruise missiles.
But what if they have a weapon that could reach, because it's us. That's who it would be reaching here, the West Coast. Now I want my congressman to maybe...
So this is what we shouldn't do. We shouldn't do what Rex Tillerson did, which was issue a 3-sentence statement saying, we're not talking anymore. We need to engage, we need to get other countries engaged, and that's how we solve it.
But that's been going on for 25 years, and it doesn't really do anything because that guy is a bigger nut than our guy. And, I mean, Trump is not wrong that it is... China is the one place that can solve this. I mean,
yes, that is correct.
Yes. So how do we get them to do that?
Not by issuing statements saying we're not talking.
How about calling them motherfuckers in a speech? Remember when Trump did that, when he called China motherfuckers, and we still elected him? People, it's just amazing.
And the Chinese president is meeting with him this weekend.
That was the one thing we hadn't tried, Bill. That was the one thing we hadn't tried.
Can you imagine how all these world leaders must feel when they're flying over? They're just like, Angela Merkel's like, oh, fuck, I gotta meet this guy. Oh, my God.
What is this mental patient gonna say to me?
This person is defiling the White House.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, he's brought everyone to such a new low.
I know. Well, thank God, only another 7 years. Thank you very much, everybody.